Please talk about your career. Where did you start and where are you now? And who were your mentors?
I appreciate that question. It's a good one. I got my master's and my doctorate at Syracuse University. And one of the really nice things about that program is that it focused on social justice, it focused on dynamics of culture and diversity. And so I was really grounded in doing that work through that process. And so as I graduated and worked clinically and then received my full-time job at Adler University, it really allowed me to come into this couple and family therapy program, bringing with me all the experiences that I received and all the learning that I received at Syracuse. And so my mentor was Ken Hardy, and I continue to be mentored by him, and I very much appreciate that. It Again, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. One of the wonderful things about that program, in addition to the social justice focus, was the self of the therapist work. And so I feel like every single faculty person that I had the pleasure to work with really helped me to not only develop my therapeutic skills, but really understand myself and understand, well, what did I bring into the room when I was doing therapy? And how did that impact my work with clients? How was I positioning, power and privilege and marginalization as central to the work? And so, in my career now, where I'm teaching full time at Adler, I've been there about 10 years. We revamped our master's program. We created a doctoral program in couple and family therapy that I'm really proud of. And it's really centered around experiential learning, self of the therapist work, and social justice. So I have the pleasure of working with really wonderful students and really, again, helping them recognize how power, privilege, and marginalization impact us globally, not just in the United States, and really challenge the idea that that we don't have the ability to access personal and collective power to push back and to make change happen. And so I feel really grateful that I learned that as a student and that I can pass that on to my students. I hope that answered the question.
You bring a very interesting topic to the conference. Uh, Please explain it.
Sure. I'm blessed to be able to share the panel with so many wonderful colleagues. And the topic I'm talking about is, looking at contextual and social justice and applying that in supervision. And so one of the things that I really appreciate about contextual is that I think it gives us an opportunity to do that blending, right? Of thinking about social justice, thinking about the ways in which power, privilege, and marginalization are socially constructed, but real and impact our lives on a daily basis. And then looking at the theory and going, okay, from a theoretical perspective, where does this fit in? And I think some theories are harder than others to make it fit in, but I feel like contextual really creates room and space. And I think Naj was really thinking in such a forward and advanced way to really say, if we look at this ledger, if we look at things transgenerationally, if we're really thinking about a revolving slate, actually, if we're thinking about entitlement, if we're thinking about the impact of destructive entitlement, it gives us room to then think about power and privilege. It gives us room to say, hey, wait a minute, how is this part of not just an individual experience, but part of a national and global experience, right? And so I feel like we can look at it in a really huge way and we can kind of narrow it down. And so when I'm doing supervision with students, when I'm doing, peer consultation with colleagues, looking at it through this lens gives me an opportunity to ask questions that guide people in their thinking around social justice. And so I'm really trying to again, think about the concepts, even if I just think about trustworthiness and, reliability and being as responsive as possible, then I'm consistently engaged in a process of reflexivity and recognizing that it's not just about whether or not you feel something, but really what do our actions do that demonstrate trustworthiness? right? And so if I'm thinking about dimensions of culture and I'm thinking at the individual level, right? But then at a cultural and then a global level, then if we're looking at people, if we're looking at structures that are put in place, we have to be able to acknowledge that there are wounds that have been created, that there are violations that people have experienced, and that families are coming into the therapy room with those wounds in place. And so in supervision, I have an opportunity to talk with supervisees about no matter where you sit, whether a family sits in a privileged position or in the marginalized position, that there are opportunities for healing. Everyone is wounded, but everyone isn't wounded in the same way. And so I can invite the therapist to be really curious about, again, how are dynamics of social justice informing the family's life? And where might there be spots that they can't see, that they don't recognize, that if they lean into, they can make dramatic shifts. Because one of the things that we know about injustice is that so often the family is one of the first places where we have that experience. And I don't think we talk about it as much as we could. So, even if we only think about age, for example, as children, very early on, we understand that things aren't fair. And it's one of the first things that you say, this isn't fair, even if it's just my bedtime. And so it begins a process of looking at those kinds of dynamics, things like fairness. Sometimes, breaking something in half isn't the thing that's fair, right, and equitable, because splitting a sandwich in half isn't fair if one person isn't hungry. And so really, again, really helping and supporting supervisees in challenging these ideas and broadening them in a way that works towards justice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you have a personal involvement in dealing with this topic?
Oh, definitely. It's my theory of therapy. It's my theory of supervision. So I feel personally connected and as well as professionally connected. It's interesting to share that, because most of the time with my students, for example, when they ask me what my theory of therapy is when I'm teaching theory, I usually don't tell them. I like wait until the end of class and then you tell me which one you think it might be, because I don't like to influence them to lean towards it in order to please me, even though I think it's a beautiful theory. So now it's out there in the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Why is it important for you to attend the October conference?
Well, I think the first thing that's important to me is to be surrounded by so many folks who are passionate about a contextual theory, right? Like it's a wonderful opportunity to come together with like-minded people who are curious, who have been using it, who've been applying it in different places, spaces, and spheres. And so I like being able to be surrounded by folks who basically speak the same therapeutic language. I think that's a gift. And so I'm really excited to be able to come. And I think particularly during this time period where we've all been struggling, this has been a global pandemic that has impacted everyone. Being able to come in person, being able to attend virtually, and make connections, because I think folks are a little connection starved because of this process. And so being able to lean in and build relationships globally, I think is such a wonderful opportunity. So I'm thrilled about it. I'm looking forward to it. And so I feel grateful to be able to be a part of the process.
Thank you very much. It was very encouraging thoughts. And the next question, maybe you already answered it, but I would like to ask again, how would you encourage others to come?
Oh, great. Good question. I mean, the first thing I would say is, let's go. Register immediately. This is going to be, there are so many wonderful presenters that are coming. And then, again, there are so many people who are doing this work. And because we're siloed in our cities, in our countries, in our areas of the world, this is a unique opportunity to come together. And so I think how can you pass it up? You know, we're blessed to be in this time period where technology is available to us. So that's the other thing. If you can't come, in person, to be able to connect, you know, virtually is a really wonderful opportunity. If it was 25 years ago, we couldn't do this. And so I feel like don't pass up an opportunity that's, you know, falling into your lap. There are going to be lots of experts who are doing amazing work. And so to be able to share that, and that's the other thing about conferences, is that the sharing and the learning and the growth isn't just one direction. It's not like presenters are only sharing, but people in the audience get up, they talk, we have discussions, you meet outside and you talk to new people, you go to lunch and you're able to just continue the flow of sharing of ideas. And so I think that that's always something that's special.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I'm glad to hear that, hear your sentences. Thank you.
My pleasure, definitely. I appreciate the questions that you are asking and the opportunity to talk about this. So.
And we really look forward to hearing or seeing you in a conference. I was not 100% sure that are you coming by personal or you will be the
Yes, I'll be coming in person. Yes.
Cool. That's
she's a brave lady. So
yeah, I'm gonna keep paying attention to what's going on, but I'm really trying. My plan, I bought my flights, I've got my hotel booked, so I really want to be there in person. So that's my plan.
I'm so happy to meet you in person. We have a wonderful opportunity to do online, but the old life was not so bad.
Exactly. Listen, we all miss that.
So if we can somehow get back, maybe not the old, but something the same, then
exactly, like a hybrid in between. You know, maybe we're wiser, right? Because there's been a lot of losses this year and a lot of I think, you know, death and non-death losses, right? Even just that piece around loss of connection makes you value the relationships and family and friends even more, when I think we already did, but sometimes you can take it for granted. So I think, you know, making new connections is valued as well as maintaining the old. So
okay.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing both of you.
Thank you very much, Cadmona.
Thank you.
It was lovely to see you and meet you online.
Thank you.
We will meet. Yeah.
I'm totally looking forward to that. So thank you.
Bye-bye.